David Thexton and Brett Peters in Thexton Motor Racing, starting from pretty much around the corner.
Yeah, it's an awful long way back down there. In fact, they have repeater lights and flags at that end of the field. And remember, we made reference before to the fact that car number 6, the Cat Falcon of Lowndes and Seaton, will start from pit lane. So he's got 34 cars in front of him. At least it's a long race, but that really makes it a tough day for them.
There's the DJR team. Look at the lungs expanding, the pressure. You can just feel it. As Billy said right at the top of the show, every single lap here is one lap closer to Bathurst. Stephen Richards talked about being anxious. Look how far back he is. Look at the clouds above us. The wind's coming across. 500 kilometres, 161 laps. The revs start to build, and the 500 returns to Sandown. A very poor start from Todd Kelly. Marcus Ambrose goes zipping away down to turn 1. Some moves by Paul Radicic. He's jostling for position into turn 1. Rick Kelly gets contact with Radicic at turn 1, and Ambrose goes off in the distance.
Boy, Todd Kelly's got to play it cool here. He had a terrible start, the Winterbottom car. Off the racing line coming out of turn 1. Everyone's got to cool it here. You've got 500 kilometres of racing. It's not going to be one in the first 2 turns. And the field still bumping and nudging each other as they come onto the back straight for the first time. This is a nervous moment.
Todd Kelly was completely trapped on the line there, and I think that he either misread the signals or just completely missed the jump, but he got swamped by the pack. Cold tyres on this opening lap, and look at how quick this thing is on cold tyres. Car number 4.
It's just been quick on everything. Cold tyres, hot tyres, full tanks, low tanks of fuel. An absolute jet. The Ambrose Eagle Ford all throughout qualifying absolutely slammed him yesterday, half a second faster. And he's showing that speed in the opening lap of this one. They want to get out the front and dominate. So it looks like they've sorted themselves out fairly well as they come round turn 9 onto the big straight for the first time. The Ford flags and the Holden flags waving in this massive grandstand.
1 minute 19 flat, the standing lap time. And it's a 1.1 second margin from Ambrose to Kelly on the opening lap.
Here's the start. Keep your eyes on the number 1 car of Todd Kelly. Got dug down a little bit there, about 5-10 metres off the start line. Ambrose is crystal clear. He's got no dramas.
He had to launch it, and it looked from here as though he had to have a double dip. It's launched, and then it's coughed, and then he's had to punch the clutch and go again. Remember, they've got 120 litres of fuel on. It's nearly 100 kilos of fuel. Andrew Jones was struggling at the back there as well, coming through on a full load of fuel.
We've had a report from the chopper flying high over Sandown International Raceway. They're forecasting rain here within the next 5 minutes. And that really is going to cause some havoc. Look at the skies, they are so threatening. You have the feeling, very cold temperatures. It's going to let go at any moment.
Yeah, now the fight is on between Todd Kelly, that should read, because Scaife is not behind the wheel. We understand Todd Kelly finds himself behind Jason Richards in car 44.
Ambrose, a 1:12.49, his first flying lap. Russell Engel talking today, this car should run easily in the 11s all day. That's the forecast. If it starts to come down with rain, it's going to change the whole strategy. Look at this battle here now. Todd Kelly fighting his way back from that slow start, right up behind the Team Dynamic Commodore. The rest of the field through Ambrose, Kelly, Rydell, Richards, Scaife. The Scaife Kelly machine being driven by Kelly.
I tell you, it's dark out there.
Isn't it just? Wind gusting up. Look at this battle here. Jason Richards and Todd Kelly, the fight for 4th. Simon Wills did a brilliant job in the top 10 shootout to get that car further up the grid. Now Jason Richards trying to capitalise on that strong position.
What about the dream start for Paul Radicic in car 65? While Todd Kelly was effectively digging a hole for himself, Radicic went around the outside and got him. He's 3rd. Go through the order. Marcus Ambrose first. Rick Kelly 2nd in car 51. Radicic in 65 is 3rd. Up to turn 1 between Kelly and Richards. Kelly goes through on the inside this time and gets that spot back.
It's very...
And it just goes to show you how much work you've got to do to make up for those little time errors where he's had a bad start, it's cost him a second or two. You've got obviously a quick car, he's worked away at the back of Jason, then it takes some number of laps to unfold that pace and get back on with it and make up that deficit. Word also through that Glenn Seaton's reporting an intermittent miss in that car. They thought they rectified it, but it's back in the number 6 car again. There was some aggravation at the end of the back straight at turn 5. Somebody locked a front left and got very out of shape. Oh, big time problem with the 17.
Oh, he's hit Brad Jones as well. Junior Johnson's causing a massive
And both of them are there now. Car 17 and 18 caught in the jam, and you can throw car 16 of Greg Ritter in there as well.
That was triggered by somebody getting out of shape right at the crest of the hill.
What a disaster for Dick Johnson Racing. Big fight back here in qualifying, getting Junior into the top 10. And now it's come all unstuck for car 17. He's gone right to the back of the pack. They're not sure how bad the damage is to the car. We'll find out very shortly.
Dave, keep cool. How's your steering wheel? Is your steering wheel straight? Yes, you want me to come in? Keep going.
Well, there's discussion at DJR on the headsets. Max Wilson has survived in car 18. There's smoke pouring from the front of the car.
He's got damage to the front left and also to the right rear as well. So that's the guard rubbing on that one, and oh, it's all gone horribly pear-shaped for DJR at the same point in time.
Here's car 17. Going to do a quick inspection here.
Tape for the self.
Not sure what Junior's reported back to the engineers.
Tape for the self.
The front, I know, is also caved in on the Repco Valvoline 34 entry as well, so they're going to have to watch the temperatures. Headlight as well. There's a tail light assembly out of that car.
Greg Russ was down there as the car came in. Anything to report, Rusty?
Well, Matty, I'm down here, in fact, with Warren Luff, with Steve Johnson's teammate. You've had a chance to look at the damage. A disappointing start.
Oh, man, it's a terrible start. Stephen got a good start, was doing well. It looks like he's copped a hit in the rear end, just going down into Dandenong Road, and from there he was just a passenger, and worse luck, then he got cleaned up by Max, but once Stephen was across the track, Max unfortunately had nowhere to go, so not the start we were looking for.
Warren, have you heard from Steve on the radio, and what is the, is there any change in the feeling of the car?
I'm not sure yet. I think the guys are talking to him now. They've just tried to have a look at the damage. It doesn't look too bad. It's more cosmetic than anything, but I think the big damage is just track position, so see where we go to from here.
Hard luck, Warren. Thank you.
Mate.
And there is a little bit more to the story, because it was Brad Jones that locked the left front at turn 5. That was the big puff of smoke that we saw from that other onboard shot. So Bradley got out of shape. That backed the pack up. He was the cork in the bottle. When they came down the hill, suddenly Junior was trying to find a way. He couldn't. He got centre punched by the 34 car, and that's how that unfolded.
Ambrose building a 2-second lead over Rick Kelly in the Kmart Commodore. Fastest man on the circuit at the moment is Todd Kelly, the Holden Racing Team #1 car. Now here's another nudge further back in the pack. There's a bit of contact between the Caterpillar Ford.
Yeah, that's Steve Owen and Philip Skyfleet and the Smiths trucks. Car number 13, built by Paul Morris.
And there goes Todd Kelly. He's on a charge. Consistently fastest. 1:12.2. Fastest lap in the race so far to car 1. So Todd Kelly recovering strongly after a slow start. Ambrose, Rick Kelly, his brother Radicic, has just been taken. Now Todd Kelly sets his sights on his brother Rick for the second spot.
Very good pace in that car at the moment. There is rain at turn 1, by the way. The fastest laps to date, Ambrose at 12.4, Rick Kelly at 12.6, Paul Radicic 12.7, Mark Scaife at 12.2, and one guy who... I'm sorry, I was about to give you some misinformation there. I'll clean my act up before I spill out the wrong detail. I'll just shut up.
Let's check in with Greg Rust.
Matty, definitely sprinkling here in pit lane. A number of the guys are diving for the rain jackets. Interesting to listen to some of the radio chat right now. The crew chief saying to the drivers, let's just weigh this one out, just see what happens for a few laps. It's too early to come in for wets just yet.
I'll tell you what, Rusty, just as they gather onto the main straight there, our camera shows, you look up to the right and you just see a whole stack of dark clouds. So if it's going to come, it's going to come down heavy. Jackets going on, and if you think that it's gone a bit crazy in the opening laps, add that to the mixture. We'll take a break and see what effect the rain will have on the Betta Electrical Sandown 500. Marcus Ambrose, our race leader. Rick Kelly in second and Todd Kelly in third. Back after this.
Oh, brother. This is Todd Kelly having a crack at Rick down the main straight of Sandown. Into the braking zone now. And younger brother has to give way to older brother as he tries to unravel the situation he really got himself into at the start of this race, dropping 3 positions from second on the grid. He is now in pursuit, clear track ahead of him to attack Marcus Ambrose, your race leader, by more than 3.5 seconds now.
And they're now trading lap speed punches, Bill, because Ambrose on the last lap set the new fastest lap of the race, a 1:12.1. And a 12.2 for the number 1 HRT car, and this is Winterbottom getting crossed up at 1. Sprinkles of rain down there, so a trap for young players. Tiny percentage of the grip has gone away, and he's gone actually a long way out of his way to rejoin. They actually won't take a very fond view of that. You're supposed to technically rejoin as quickly as you can where you went off. That was a rejoin at turn on the approach to turn 4, having gone off at turn 1.
You see this? This is what happens when you become a front-end loader for another V8 supercar. The damage that you're looking at on Craig Baird's Team Kiwi car was as a result of that incident with the 2 DJR cars, and effectively Baird was the one that picked up Max Wilson and tipped him into his teammate Stephen Johnson in that horrible mess. So they've all come out of it with some pretty nasty scars on the face. Greg Rust.
Matty, the chief engineer for car 4, Paul Forgy, has been on the radio to Marcus Ambrose. He says, plus 3.7, Marcus, plus 3.7. Let's just keep our head about this. We've got a nice little bumper and just keep it all together.
Gary, what's happened there with Gus? He's had the drive through, but it looks like it was a bit of a concertina effect.
Well, it was, Darryl. I mean, look, I hate this. We get involved in time and time again, but clearly it is a race. He was racing for his position. There was an incident. Sure, he hit the back of the car, but the other car was locked up trying to avoid another incident. And, you know, it is very frustrating. But I better be careful what I say here, because the wrath of the stewards will strike yet again.
You test your patience.
Yeah, well, I'm running out of it.
Thanks, mate.
Thank you.
Big damage on the front of this car. One of the full blueprint spec VY Commodores. Mark Hexel, the team's engine builder, into stage 4 of that engine's development. They wanted to start very early in the year, so they had a strong package coming up to Mount Panorama in October. Look at the damage on the front of that car. Just to know whether the temperature gauge may be climbing, whether it's affected some of the engine's ancillary systems, particularly its cooling duct. We'll find out as this race unfolds. There's a battle though here, right in the middle of the pack. Mark Winterbottom. Saw him get in trouble earlier, twice in fact at turn 1.
Greg Ritter and Cameron McConville slides in behind Jamie Whincup.
All these cars fighting for position. This is outside the top 10. Mark Winterbottom, even his team boss Ross Stone saying watch him, he's a definite dark horse. Certainly based on his performances in the Konica series this year. By his own admission, he mucked up his qualifying, still finished 14th.
A lot of huffing and puffing from the Lansvale car there in turns 8 and 9. I thought initially it might have been a locked brake and a bit of tyre smoke, but I think there's other issues with the number 3 car at the moment. Easily outpaced in a straight line by Winterbottom.
Yeah, that smoke started to appear around turns 8 and 9. Now it's getting heavier and heavier.
Very easy around this track because of the amount of curb hopping to do underbody damage, and I'm not totally familiar with precisely where they may or may not have things like oil coolers on that car, but when you curb hop so aggressively around here, it is possible to do damage that can lead to oil leaks.
Do you have any alarms on the camera?
That's Wally's story.
Losing lots of power, Cameron McConville reports from car number 3's 15th and 17th